Hi, my name is Joe with Box to Bench Precision. Today I'm going to give you some basic instructions for a 100-yard long-range load development and scope tracking target. The best thing to do is put a piece of tape in the corners, maybe in the middle, and then staple or tack it. And this will last in the elements for a long time. For your meter shooters, you can convert 100 yards into 92 meters and your scope tracking will be on. So this is always going to be your point of aim for the scope tracking target. You're going to fire a shot here to start, and then your first stop will be 1.5 mils or 5 minutes of angle. Here, you're going to fire a shot and see how your tracking is. Your next stop will be 10 minutes of angle or 3 mils. Fire a shot. Your next step will be 15 minutes of angle or 4.5 mils. Fire a shot. Your next step will be 20 minutes of angle or 6 mils. Fire a shot. Your next step will be 25 minutes of angle or 7.5 mils. Make sure you know what your scope is. If it's 25 minutes of angle or 25 shooter minutes of angle, it's quite a difference. When you get to this point, you'll be able to see the difference in where the bullet strikes, and you'll know exactly what kind of scope you have. And now we're going to come down to the 6 mil or 20 minutes of angle and fire a shot, the 4.5 mil or 15 minutes of angle and fire a shot, the 3 mil or 10 minutes of angle and fire a shot, down to the 1.5 mil or 5 minutes of angle and fire a shot, and then we're going to come back to your original point of aim and fire a shot. The whole time we're dialing the scope up and down, we're always aiming at this point of aim. Now from here, aiming at this point of aim, you're going to dial your scope left, 5 minutes of angle or 1.5 mils, and fire a shot. Dial it back to the point of aim, fire a shot, then dial right, 5 minutes of angle or 1.5 mils, fire a shot, and then come back to center. The next test is going to be the powder test. You could test 2 different types of powders in round 1 and round 2. Ideally, we want to shoot 3 to 5 rounds per group, and you want to check your reloading manual for the proper charging weights for your starting points. What we've found is there are certain types of powder that guns really like. It's best to do some research and figure out what those types of powders are for your firearm and load. For example, if we want to use H4831 shortcut and we want to end up around the 59 grain mark, we're going to write 59 grains here, 58.7, 58.4, 58.1. Maybe we want to try H4350 and we want to end up at the 58 grain mark, 58 grains here, 57.7, 57.4, 57.1. At each target spot, you're going to shoot at least 4 rounds to have a good representation of a group. If you're shooting factory ammunition, you'll have multiple target spots to test multiple varieties of factory ammunition. Next test we're going to do is the lands test. This is going to be the amount of jump the bullet takes to enter the rifling. Ideally, you can start at 10 thousandths if you're hunting. You don't want to get a bullet stuck inside the rifling. If you're shooting bench rest or you like to touch the lands, you could add a target spot or you could just change one of these. Ideally, we want to shoot at least 4 round groups as we move our way through these lands testings. 10 thousandths, 40 thousandths, 80 thousandths, and 120 thousandths. Once you've found out where your bullet likes to be seated, you can move up to the final lands test. Usually 10 thousandths increments is best when fine-tuning your final seating depth. The next test we're going to do is the final velocity test. This is going to be used for your ballistic programs or spreadsheets. Ideally, we want more than 5 rounds, but use a minimum of 5. The next test we're going to do is hot and cold ammunition testing. Ideally, what you want to use is your extremes. So whatever the hottest conditions you're going to shoot in, and whatever the coldest conditions you're going to shoot in. And remember, when you're testing these, you want your gun and your ammo the same temperature. What I see a lot online is guys take ammunition out of the freezer and then go to the range and shoot it in a gun that's 80 degrees. That's why you see a lot of people saying that they have very little temperature sensitivity with their rounds. Well, it's not true because their gun wasn't cold as well as their ammo. Once you have your final velocity, we can come over here to final group size. And this is what you're going to use for your ballistic programs or your ballistic spreadsheets. It has barometric pressure, temperature, azimuth, humidity, average group size, line of sight, and latitude. Ideally, we want you to sight in the rifle before attempting to shoot at this target. We have included 2 0 spots that you can use throughout the process to verify your zero. You might want to check your suppressor on or off, or maybe use a magnetochronograph, and you want to see if that has any effects on your bullets. What we have here is some data you can use for your target. The owner of the rifle, test number and date, who the shooter was, make, model of your rifle, what brass you're using, what powder, what bullet and primer, your overall length or your ogive measurements, your final lands measurements, and your final feet per second. This has been a short instructional video on how to use our target. For more in-depth instructions, visit our website. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Stay tuned for future videos.